Hello, here we are, back live on the internet. Hope everybody's doing all right out there, and I hope some of you are available to chit chat. Um, so it is, what day is it? It's Friday, I believe the 27th of March at 1 p.m. Central Time, and we're going to be doing some updates, Q&A. When you get here, type into the comment section, say hello. Maybe where you are, whatever, some information, just so I know who all's here. I can say hi, and let me know if the audio and the visual. There's a glare right here, and I don't think there's anything I can do about it because I don't have a studio, and the sun just came out. In fact, I would be doing this on my laptop, but the laptop wasn't charged, and the sun's been behind the clouds most of the morning. So it's kind of on and off right now. So we're not getting a whole lot of solar. I did do some band-aids on my solar system, solar power, that seemed to be working. I was able to get quite a bit of power yesterday, and the power actually stayed on through the night. But this morning it's been so gray, and I was using it a little bit, and it bounced. So my laptop's not charged, so I'm using the Samsung tablet to do this. Hey everybody, when you get here, say hi. Hello, Nancy in Ocean County, New Jersey. Staying home, good. If you're here, say hi. Let me know how the audio and the video is doing. We'll get started here in just a minute. Give some people some time to show up. Drinking my black coffee. Yes, I'm on a fast. Have to do quick math. 48, 60, 65 hours. 65 hours into a fast. Still having some allergies, which is why my eyes are glassy and my face is red, but I'm doing all right. Hello, Diane. Hello, everybody. Say hi when you get in here. I'm going to give it just a few minutes, but so I am on a fast, but I do drink black coffee on the fast because it doesn't bust your fast. There is 1 or 2 calories in black coffee, but black coffee has a thermic effect as well as a few other positive calorie burning properties that cause it to help you burn more calories than you are consuming. So it has a net negative caloric effect. Hello, Clyde. Glad to see you guys here. Everybody's piling in now. Say hi. If you have questions, comments, topics, things you want to talk about, type them into the comment section. I'll try to get them when I get to them. All right, so a lot of things going on. Start with my normal disclaimer. I'm not talking about coronavirus. I don't know anything about coronavirus. I'm not. Hey, hello, Colleen. I am not a epidemiologist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I am also a skeptic of a lot of things, including every side of the political issue that's involved. And so I don't. Hello, yeah, go Broncos. I hope you mean Bronchos, because if you didn't, you're spelling it wrong, Richard. Bronchos. Just let you know. All right. Hello, Michael. There's a lot of things going on. I'm not an expert on what I am an expert on is survival, preparedness, anything to do with staying alive, for the most part, and off-grid living. I am not immune that I know of to coronavirus, and so I'm not saying that because of any preparations or anything we've done that somehow I'm not going to get infected. So because I don't know anything, I don't talk about the coronavirus. So other than that, if you have questions or comments about anything to do with preparedness, survival, planning, things to do, what's going on, what's likely to happen, I'll be glad to be here and answer your questions. One of the things that's been up and being talked about a lot lately, and we did a video, these things are starting to run together, but if you go through my videos over the last 13 or 14 videos, we did one where I talked about why it could be possible that internet or electrical power could be lost. We're starting to see the reality of those causes. Not saying that they're going to happen. I'm saying that the reality of those causes are starting to manifest. So we're seeing that they're having to slow the internet down because so many people using it at once. That's always been a problem with anything to do with technology and bandwidth and all these types of things. We're seeing first the people who are on the front lines of this starting to come down with virus or having virus reported. So military, first responders, hospital people, doctors, people that are involved with our infrastructure, that we're only on the very, very first beginnings of. So not predicting anything. I'm saying that the fact that the internet is going, very likely could be interrupted is a possibility, something to think about and include in your planning ideas. Electrical power is exactly the same. And so, although I'm happy that all of the essential workers are still working and people are still doing what they can to keep things going, everything is so interwoven and interdependent that anything can happen. So when you are making your, I'm sorry about messages coming in, but that just happens. When you're making your plans and you're making your prognostications, that you plan for those things. We're going to talk about some real world things during this talk. We're going to talk about off-grid power, off-grid internet, lighting, stuff like that, or any questions that you guys have. But I just wanted to bring up the fact that the beginning indicators of what could be some interruptions in basic utilities, etc., are starting to manifest. So secondarily, I already mentioned it. One of the things we talked about is that the interdependency of all these systems also has always, the systems have always relied on the ability, the locality of the crisis and the ability for people outside of that locality to come and help. And we're starting to see some, my YouTube all morning has claimed cannot connect at this time. Well, I'm not on YouTube right this moment, so hopefully you'll be able to connect. But YouTube and Netflix are probably the two, could be the two biggest reasons that we're having a systemic slowdown on the internet, which has been reported. It's being reported in the news. But so we're starting to see an impact on first responders, military people, and all of that. That kind of proves the point that this is a completely different animal. This is a completely different thing than we've seen before, where the whole world is really affected, and people's willingness or desire or ability to respond is going to be severely limited. All of this is just to say that although I know nothing about the virus, I have for 20 years been telling people that you need to check, gauge, measure your dependency. We have a natural reaction to crisis is to revert to kind of a normalcy bias, to think things are going to revert back to normal. Often in cases like this, they never return to normal. I do not see anything that tells me that after this, whatever it is gonna, that things are going to return to what we knew of as normal. This is more like a 911 kind of thing, 9/11 thing, where things get back to some semblance of normal, but they're never quite the same. And so I'm just trying to let people know that you need to like really, really gauge your dependency and take advantage of things that are available now to prepare yourself for things getting worse. Nancy says, we have a small faith group, pardon me, put on my crutches, meeting each night at 9 p.m. for a conference call for prayer. It lasts about 30 minutes. There are two ministers. We start with a scripture reading, then we go we go into prayer. We pray for healing and mercy, but mainly for repentance and conversion. My son is a supermarket worker. We share an apartment in a senior village. Hoping everyone here has been well and continues to stay well using my phone. All right. Good. Thank you. Hope your prayer meetings are efficacious. So let me know if you're here, and if you have questions, comments, put them in the comment section. I'll be glad to talk about anything you guys want to talk about. One of the things that's starting to be a concern, and I wanted to let everybody know because I have talked about alternatives to toilet paper, and a lot of you are using our alternatives to toilet paper or are anticipating the using of alternatives. I did see where a few people were mentioning that toilet paper was showing up in their stores. As you know, I'm not a big advocate of people running out and buying toilet paper, but I did want to say, because I have advised people to use alternatives, that you not flush things that shouldn't be flushed. So even flushable wipes, don't flush those. Don't flush heavy-duty napkins and things like that, and don't flush cloth, because here's the next point. Regardless of me telling you guys are really the probably the elite intelligence wise of the people that are out there, because if you're listening to me, you're probably not a big dummy, although I call you all dummies all the time. The people who are the really big dummies are not listening to me. They're watching rewatching something on Netflix right now. So but don't flush that stuff. But the problem is a lot of people are. Most of you live in cities, you live in suburbs, you're on a system of a citywide sewage system. Those things are going to get backed up because people are flushing things that shouldn't be flushed. And when that happens, it's very likely that's going to cause a bigger problem than anybody is anticipating right now. And so in a lot of localities, cities, counties, small towns, you could see major interruptions in that, and you need to be planning for that situation, because typhus, one of the biggest killers in the history of the world, especially during times of disaster, during times of the plague, during times of pandemics, is when people don't know what to do with their waste product. They start wiping, putting it in the trash. The trash sits out on the road, and you end up with typhus. And so people need to start thinking about what you're going to be doing, intelligently thinking about what you're going to do with your waste product. And I'm not an expert on it, so I'm not going to give a bunch of advice. I live out in the country. We have an outhouse and other backup plans, so including humanure, composting, and those type of things. And I don't know what your rules are. I don't know what your rules are in your city, your principality, your municipality. And so just something to think about. And so one thing I wanted to talk about today, but I don't want to get right on it right yet, is, and I'm going to put some links in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube, is alternative power and lighting and internet. I talked about this on the last video, but I have to deal with this all the time. Is some genius sees, oh, Michael Bunker's been off grid for 15 years, and oh my gosh, he's on Facebook and YouTube. How can he be off grid? Because they're ignorant. They don't know what off grid means. They don't know the definition, and they're not going to Google it. In their mind, they've created whatever their fantasy is of what off grid is. Apparently, and for most people that are really dumb, off-grid means like living in a cave somewhere, like or living like the Unabomber. They don't realize that Bill Gates is off-grid. A good portion of the technology left coast is off-grid. Having solar panels, you can live exactly like everybody else lives and be totally off-grid. So people just, and I have no problem, like I said, of people being ignorant of that, of not knowing. But what almost always happens is that the ignorant are very arrogant about this one topic. And so you end up with it's daily. Every single day of my life, I get some communication through YouTube, through Facebook, through Instagram, through Twitter. How can you be off grid and be on Facebook? It's become a running joke with me and my people. Hello, San Rico. And so the reason why is because you don't know what the grid means. And the grid basically means the interconnected wires that attach you to grid-based utilities. So if you are using a cell phone that was charged using the sun, that device is not on grid. It is on the internet, but it's not on grid because there's no wires connecting to it, and there's no immediate failure if that system fails. So I've had to explain this, and I'm sorry I'm gonna have to explain this so many videos because there's just so many people turn their brains off. They think they know everything. It's a Dunning-Kruger response, and then I lose them. So because hello Aaron, because we're talking about vulnerability of electrical power grid, vulnerability of the internet. I had a lot of people contacting me. I mentioned on one of the last videos that I use a small power box that is called a Net Zero Yeti 150. They make a 400 too, but the Yeti 150, which I recommended in one of the videos, I cannot show it to you right now because it's overcast. I don't have power. I'm actually using it. It's running my internet right now. And so I will link to it in the comments or the description section on the YouTube video. Everybody who's on Facebook, you're going to get a link to this YouTube video. Please share it. Please like it. Please subscribe to my YouTube. But in the comment section, there's going to be a bunch of links. One of the links is for the power box. That power box is basically a battery that comes in a very hardened, awesome case that has a regular wall 110 plug. It's got a 12-volt cigarette lighter adapter, and it has 2 USB ports, and it has the ability to plug a solar panel system into it that they also make and sell. So you can actually use it as an off-grid system. It's not a whole lot of watts, but it'll run a laptop. It runs my internet. It'll run a lot of things, and I have used it for several years now. And a lot of these, the manufacturers of these things, they're real cheap. They're made in China. They're garbage. And so I have gone through almost everything that's out there as far as using alternative power boxes. And this is one of the best. It is the best one we've ever had. So there's going to be a link below after this video goes on YouTube. Just let everybody know. Any of the links that are in the description section, if you buy anything from those links, I get a little bit from Amazon on their affiliates, but there's no added cost to you. It's all free to you. So use my affiliate link, and then I might get 50 cents or 13 cents or something like that. All right, and so the other thing I wanted to talk about is internet. Most of you are probably on some type of cable internet. You might have gotten to the point where you can use your cell phone or a device with a SIM card, and now a lot of the people are doing unlimited internet. If you don't have that, you might consider right now investing in something. I use Straight Talk Wireless, but a prepaid wireless internet SIM card for your phone or for your tablet or device. And what that will do is gives you unlimited internet wirelessly. The reason I'm saying that is that of the internet delivery systems, the one you're most likely to lose if we have an interruption or a systemic type of problem is going to be the cabled fiber optic, whatever you have that's run into your house through a cable. And the reason why is that most of those systems are run by small mom and pop companies. I mean, perhaps you're getting yours through AT&T or something. In any case, those companies are going to, that system is more likely to be interrupted than the cellular or digital phone system. And so quite often, even after 9/11, which was a long time ago, the ground-based communications go before the wireless. And so just saying, you know, as a backup, if you want to be able to get on the internet, if something happens, then have a SIM card that's attached to Straight Talk Wireless or GoPhone or somebody like that. Most of them now have a unlimited internet, and it's month to month. So if this thing is over in a month, you just cancel it. I get my plan, I think, is $45, and I get you can get unlimited for 50. I think I get 25 gigs, which I never use, and it's like I said, it's really high speed, and I can get it on my phone or whatever. All right, and so in many of those plans, you can also share, so you can actually use a Wi-Fi, so everybody in your house can use it or whatever. So that's kind of off-grid internet. By off-grid, I mean it's still available if the power goes down. It's still available for a while if you have a way to charge your phone, and it's still available if we lose terrestrial internet. We're already starting to see that. Some of the headlines this morning is about they are throttling the internet because there's so many people downloading and watching Netflix and YouTube and all that kind of stuff. The possibility of losing terrestrial internet or power, I think, is going to be incrementally higher as the summer comes and as the temperatures rise. You overload these systems, and what happens is you you have these dependencies that are overlapping. We're starting to see workers that work on those systems being affected by coronavirus and coronavirus plans. So it's just something to be wise. Aaron says, any suggestions for those of us with very, very young children? You have to give me a category of what, as far as entertainment or what, because I have most of my advice for young children is that they need to not be on devices. They need to not be entertained. And you know, when we were young, and I know I'm going to sound like one of those guys. Why, we used to play with a rock for 47 hours straight, as long as we were in before the street light went on. And it's true, not the 47 hours, but what we did is my mom said, go upstairs. And we went upstairs. We didn't have internet. We didn't have anything. Oh, things to keep around. Okay, I'll get back to what I was saying. A 4-month-old. You know, I there's so much I don't know. I don't know if your wife is breastfeeding. I don't know if, but cloth diapers. I think you can still order cloth diapers. Absolutely wonderful to have. Not that you have to have diapers. Children were raised for hundreds and hundreds of years without diapers. They still go that way in Asia, and so. But cloth diapers are great to have for a lot of different reasons, including you know, it being a diaper, but also being used by adults if you end up not being able to use toilet paper. Cleaning cloth diapers, lots of YouTube videos on it. They're great. So cloth diapers would be a great thing. Other than food, I think it's really a good time to start engaging their imagination and their understanding of and 4 months old. There's just really, they don't require much. They're sleeping a lot. They're crying a lot. If you got food, you got mom, you got dad, you got a diaper, you pretty much got it covered. But for some older children, starting engaging with them without feeling like you have to entertain them all the time. One of the biggest mistakes that people make with children generally all the time, but we've created a world where their minds have to be completely entertained all the time, and so they don't ever develop the ability for independent thought and ideation. Whereas when we were young, you know, it was like, just go play. We were not allowed to just sit there and go, mom, 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 look at me, look at me, look at me. That was not allowed. We were told to go play, and so we would go upstairs and we would create entire worlds, me and my two sisters, and it was all basically living a movie. So or we would go outside, and we were outside for the whole day as long as we were home before the street light was on, not with no entertainment, nobody entertaining us. So I think that that's very important right now. Not telling people to send people outside. I'm saying try to engage their imagination and their ideation where you're not the one that's sitting there stimulating them 24/7. All right. Any other questions? Any questions at all? Put them in the comments section. If you are on YouTube, that means you're watching this while it's not live. Put your questions in the comment section as well, and it could strike me as something we need to do a whole video on. Hey Joe, so you know, I can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. May I post a blog post I wrote about the value of doing things by hand in childhood? Absolutely. Yeah, just post a link. That'd be great. So I pretty much, okay, so I talked about power and some other ways to think about power. Generators are great, but most most consumer generators are very poorly manufactured. They're not designed for regular use. They are not designed to last very long. They will tell you right in the instruction booklet, this is for occasional use when your power goes out. So to sit there and try to run those things all the time, the best thing you could do is actually learn how to not use them so that you don't need them. But to sit there and think you're going to run your air conditioner, which is silly, or anything like that. Tesla batteries for homes, fantastic. If you can afford them, I'd be all over it. I'd be all over it. I just think that they're a great idea. They're the thing, and this ties in with what I was just saying. Do not try to create an alternative power system to live the way you've always lived. That's the biggest mistake people make when they go off grid or when they engage in off-grid systems. You do not want to live like you've been living because you can't afford to do that off-grid. You have to find out what you don't need. Running your air conditioner and your heater around the clock during the summer or the winter off-grid, it's going to be prohibitive for everybody, but the systems aren't designed to do that. They're not designed to last that long, and you'll wear them out in months. Get back to that in just a minute. Kelly, hey Bunker, I want to know what's the longest shelf time you've had on canned meat, please, that you've used. Thanks. I'm always being asked that question. Want a different perspective. For the most part, we have used meat easily 5 or 6 years after it's been canned. Easily, no problem. And you can tell. Now, most meat, because the way that you can meat is different depending on the type of meat. So if it's hamburger, you cook it, you brown it at least before you were put it into the cans. But no matter what way, generally, because you're using heat in the canning process, a fat rises to the top, so you end up with a layer of fat at the top of the jar. By canning, everybody who doesn't know, we're talking about glass mason jars. And so what happens is you end up with a layer of fat that seals the top. You already have everything that can be living that's inside of that meat killed because of the temperature and the pressure. And then you have a seal on the top that allows doesn't allow ingress. Even if you get a little bit of air leaking, that meat's going to remain good. Now we also add a teaspoon of salt per jar, so you have 4 levels of bacterial suppression. So I'm not saying that 5 or 6 years is the most. It could go on. I would not have a problem opening a jar that had been down there 10 years, opening it up, smell it, look at it, and I wouldn't have a problem using it. Just because there's just no ability for the bad bacteria to grow. Even if you had some air ingress with your salt, you would have caused lactobacilli to grow and not the bad bacteria. So, safety-wise, you have to tell people 18 months to 2 years is the most of the jar company is going to guarantee. But in that type of emergency situation, I would just eat it. So going back to what we were talking about, what was I talking about? Somebody can remind me. I never know. I'm scatterbrained, but I know a lot of stuff, and so sometimes I go off on this thing, and that's like, I don't know. I said I would get back to it, but I don't remember it now. I'm having a Richard King moment. Richard King knows why I'm joking with him. Best type of salt. Okay, so salt, as far as a preservative to use with meat, salt is salt. If you're using it for salting, then salt is salt, and salt is it works on the osmotic effect. It removes enough moisture that you end up the cells can't be used to propagate bad bacteria, and so. But as far as your body, what I try to do is tell people keep iodized salt and sea salt or a good quality salt. If you're going to buy in bulk, and I'm not getting paid for any of my suggestions right now. I don't have a sponsor. If you're a sponsor and you want to sponsor me, that's great. I would only sponsor it if I believe in the product. But there's a website called saltworks.com or .org. I think it's .com. And you can buy very, very good quality sea salt in bulk inexpensively and sent to you. That's what I would use for my preservation and for all of that. And then use iodized salt for your salt shakers and all that, because you do need iodine if you're not getting it from things like green leafy vegetables. Your body has to have iodine. So you can also just buy iodine and then save yourself buying iodized salt. Hello, Elizabeth. Hello, Alan. Hello, everybody. Say hi when you come in. I'm doing this with my hands because so that I don't sit there and fidget as much. I don't remember what I was talking about before, but your questions are awesome. Just throw your questions in the comments. I wanted to take the moment while there's not a question to tell everybody what I tell you on every video. I want you to go to my YouTube page, which is youtube.com/bunkdad, BUNKDAD. Subscribe. Get everybody you know to subscribe. watch the videos, because watch hours is where we're behind right now. Like the videos and comment. All of those things add into the YouTube algorithm that makes them suggest or recommend videos to other people. They're really not getting enough comments. Need more people watching the videos so you can share those. And I appreciate you people that are just YouTubers and you're not on my Facebook. You can find me at facebook.com/offgrid, and you can contact me there. There will be links. Every product or anything that I mention will be linked in the description section, and you can get things there. Iodine supplements, I just use iodine. I think I've held it up here before. We actually used it yesterday. So I was walking up to the cottage, which is about 700 feet from here, and there was a dove flopping around on the ground. And so I picked it up, and if I find birds or bird flies in the window of my office or something, I take them up to my daughter, and she doctors them up until they're better, and then they fly away. So I took this injured dove up to my daughter Sarah, and it had apparently broken its wing or something, and she tried to save it. But so I had taken the iodine up there, and she was using that to swab the wound. It was too late. The dove ended up dying. But anyway, so that's why I don't have my iodine with me. Usually it's within reach. Oh, here it is. So this is the iodine that I use. Applicare Povidone iodine solution. Everything may be backwards to you because of Facebook's thing, but this is what we use. You can put a little bit of that in some water or whatever if you need to supplement. Make sure you read the instructions. Maybe do like my old radio program, get your questions in before the program. I do that, but here's the thing. I'm going to do a little rant, a little complaint. And I was talking to a friend today, and I said this. We're here. There's, I don't know, 13 to 30 people here, right? You all have questions, and I know you do, because as soon as I get off of here, you're going to private message me your question. Or I do it on YouTube, and people private message me their question. So people want an individual response, where if you would just ask the question when there's an opportunity in the comment section, eventually hundreds of people watch this video, hundreds of people could benefit, and I don't have to answer the same question every single day of my life. And so it's just a little bit of a rant. I'm just going to be on this rant for 5 seconds. If you're on this video live and you have the opportunity to type in question, or if you're not watching it live and you're watching it on YouTube and you have a question, do not private message me later and ask me your question. That's very selfish for you, because you're taking up my time and I'm not serious. You can private message me your question, but just think about it. Think what you can do to help other people. Ask questions when there's an opportunity for other people to be benefited by it. I'm not angry. I sound angry all the time. That's just my voice. But I'm just saying, I was talking to somebody today, and I said it really frustrates me because I get off of these videos, and over the next 24 hours, I will have 100 questions emailed me or private messaged me that people could have asked while the video was playing. Just type it in. There's no reason. I mean, there's nothing happening. Nobody's going to come to your house and go, "How are you doing?" Just if you have a question, type it in. And I sit here and I wait for questions. I'm like, well, I guess nobody cares. I guess I don't need to be doing this. And then bam, I get flooded. And so if you are talking to me, like earlier today, I had a meeting, you hear bing, 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 bing in the background, and that's people private messaging me questions when they watch the videos. So I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying think about how you can help other people. If you're on YouTube, you can still, even though it's not live, you can still type your questions or comments into the comment section. It adds to the algorithm. It boosts my channel, and I can sit there now, and if I didn't answer at that time, I can do a whole show if it's good enough, or I can do a show where I go like, hey, I'm going to answer questions for 5 minutes or something like that. It just helps everybody. Maybe they're so awestruck by you that they can't think of anything to ask. I don't think that's it, because why do they think of something to ask as soon as it's not live? I don't think anybody is awestruck by me. Babies, children, and I don't know. I can say this though, babies and old ladies like me. That's proven scientific fact. All right, so we talked about power. Please get your questions in. I talked about the fact that a generator is not particularly olive oil in your beard, Aaron. Um, Generators is great to have, but don't think that you're going to create an alternative system to run everything you have. One of the things you can do if you're thinking ahead is you can create a circuit in your house of just the absolutely mandatory things that you need to do when the time comes, and then use a generator. They do have high-end industrial type generators that are designed to run a house. Again, it's going to be fiscally, financially prohibitive to try to just run your house for a long period of time. We could be talking about 12 to 18 months. And so these little solar systems that I'm talking about, not up in space, but these little solar power systems are brilliant for that. And so a solar system that you can, a power system that you can run that will just run your mission critical systems, phone, communication device, radios, that type of thing. Even if we end up losing power and internet, a ham radio and a terrestrial radio will work, and most likely people will be will be using those things. So those are things that I would advise you to get. A ham radio, even if you're not a ham, and a good terrestrial radio that picks up AM, FM, shortwave, and all that kind of stuff is good to have. But you want a power system to be able to charge that. Now, I have had people ask me recently about, these little solar power things. Most of those are so cheap. We go through them like that. Let me grab something real quick, and I'm going to show you something. This is my battery backup for my phone. It's Samsung. It's not cheap. I think it is 10,000 whatever milliamps. And you can get these up to 25,000. I think my wife's might be 25,000. These can be charged on solar. They can be charged on my Goal Zero. They don't have a solar panel themselves, but also my phone has this wireless charging, so I can wireless charge my phone while I have something else plugged in here. My wife and I use, let me show you here real quick. You won't be able to see it, but this USB goes to a 3-watt bulb. These are very inexpensive lighting, and 3 watts. I mean, this thing would run it for a week. So if this is fully charged, you plug that in there, and you're not going to be able to see it because it's not very bright when it's daylight, but it's on right now. And it'll run it for a long period of time. And so some of these types of boxes, the good ones, check the reviews. I'm going to link to a few in the description where I will have done the research for you. They have two, I don't know what that was, 2 USB ports, which is good because you can run 2 of these lights for your house. These are awesome. And like I said, you can get one that's 25,000 milliamps or whatever. And so then my Goal Zero power box has 2 USBs. I use that for lighting on the other side of the room. So I can actually have 2 3-watt bulbs. That 3 watts doesn't sound a lot, but these are not incandescent bulbs. These are really, really bright. And so it'll light up this whole room, and I can do whatever I need to do down here. I live completely off grid in our cottage up there at the farm and all that. But down here at the office, I use power for communicating with you, for writing books, and for just day-to-day stuff. For the most part, I run my internet, which is wireless, and I run a laptop, and I charge devices and batteries. A very inexpensive and quality-wise not the best in the world battery power system you get from Home Depot is Ryobi or Ryobi, and I'll put a link to that in the description. I've got a power box. We have these Ryobi batteries that go to power tools, screw guns, saws, all that kind of thing. But we also use those batteries. You can get Ryobi radios that have USB power outlets on them. They actually have a little USB power generator thing that pops on those batteries into, and you can plug things into them. And so all of those things are available at Home Depot or through a Home Depot. You can probably get them at Amazon. So I'll put a link into the actual items we use in the description section when you're watching this on YouTube. So that's power for the most part. I can probably cover some other things if people have questions. Take your time right now and type questions into the comment section so I can answer your questions. So we've talked about power, we've talked about internet, and we've talked about lighting. Of course, the advice that I've given you, I have a whole video on making candles. Please watch that video. I'll put a link to it in the description. I'm going to have to link everything in the description below. But you can make candles very, very cheaply, very, very easily. All you have to do is be able to produce a little bit of heat. Bulk wax is cheap. But what we do is we buy candles every time we're in a thrift store. I mentioned 2 items the other day, and it's kind of would be a whole comedy routine. But t-shirts are, a t-shirt costs $25 or $30 or free or 25 cents. The only reason a t-shirt costs anything is because of what's on it, and it means something to you for 5 minutes. So people buy a t-shirt, they like it, they wear it a couple of times, goes into a drawer, they end up with 57 t-shirts, they take them to the thrift store, they give them away, they bag them up, or you can get them in a thrift store for $1 or whatever. Same thing with coffee cups. Coffee cups are that way. It's like $10 for a coffee cup or a quarter. And it's the same coffee cup. It's just it matters whether it's the first time it's been sold or after that. And the same thing is true of candles. People go out and spend a lot of money on candles. They don't use them. They can't imagine a situation where they would be using them, so they take them to the thrift store. My wife is the candle buyer, man. She goes straight to the candle section. She gets bags, big Ziploc gallon bags of taper candles for $1, 50 cents, 25 cents. We use them when they get down small. She saves them all the wax. She melts them down, clarifies the wax. She melts them into a brick. Those go stacked and get into the root cellar. We literally have, I said literally, so I don't want to speculate, but we have maybe 100 pounds or more of candle wax that is ready. We also store wick material, so that, and I've made hundreds of candles, so we have stuff to make candles. Kerosene lanterns throughout the house and the office. Kerosene is an off-grid solution, but not a beyond off-grid solution. It's not sustainable, but you can buy a can of 5-gallon can of kerosene at a hardware store, and maybe $40. And you can keep that and store it, and whenever you need to run your kerosene, it'll last you a good long time. So we use kerosene sparingly because we have a lot of candles and we can use a lot of candles, but that's another backup lighting idea that's cheap. And then at some point I'm going to do a video on fat lamps, where maybe you can use your bacon grease or whatever grease you're producing in your cooking to produce lamps and lighting, butchering, whatever, however you can get fat. All right, I think that I have gone through and exhausted the things that I had planned on talking about. So now I'm here for your questions. If we don't get any, then this thing will be over, and then you'll have to wait till next time. Everybody that's on YouTube, please comment, like, share, subscribe. Bing, 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 bing. Those things are going to help tremendously. If you are out there and you've got a product or a device or something that you think fits into this area, contact me, and I would accept the sponsor if it's something that I would use and that I would trust with my family. Do you use rancid oil to light your oil lamps with? I'm hit or miss when I get mine to work with olive oil. What am I missing on the trick to getting it to work? Rancid oil is fine to be used for burning, and you can also clarify or fix rancid oil. And so I'll have to do something about that. But olive oil, I don't know why you would be having a problem. The biggest problem that you have to have is make sure that you don't have too much wick or too little exposed. A lot of people think that an oil lamp is going to run like a candle, and it doesn't. And so I'm going to do a video on this that's going to show how we do fat lamps. But rancid oil is perfectly fine to use. It'll burn just like any other oil. But you know, you just have to make sure that your wicking material is proper sized for your container, and that the right amount. It takes practice. The right amount of wick is being exposed. If it's too much, you'll end up with a lot of smoking, and you'll end up with it just won't work that well. And if it's too little, it just won't burn. And so they also sell these little floating wicks that are used for Hanukkahs for Hanukkah, and we buy those in bulk, and they are little floating oil wicks. And so what you do is, it's got a little disc that has cork on it, and it floats, and it's got a tiny bit of wick, and you can actually float those things in olive oil or in fat oil. Now the problem with oils is going to be where it's the temperature, where it's solid or whether it's liquid. The problem with people using grease and fats is they don't allow enough wick for it to melt. It's got to melt that fat. And so olive oil will stay not solid at room temperature, most room temperatures. And so it's not too much of a problem. People start using lard during the summer. It's great because it stays melted, but during the winter it solidifies. So your wick length has to be adjusted so that there's enough heat to melt the fat into a pool around the wick, so the wick is constantly wicking up. Eventually, as the whole container heats up, it's going to turn the whole thing into liquid. All right, hope that answers your question. Batteries like that are rated in the milliamp hours. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's how many amps of current it can supply over time. If it can run a 1 amp load, which is a lot, for an hour, it's rated 1 amp hour, or 1000 milliamp hours. Since you're using only running loads that are a few milliamps, which is 1/1000th of an amp. Okay, good to know. Glad to always have somebody who's an expert. And then you can figure out what your normal load is going to be. So anybody else have questions and comments, put them in there. I started this thing at 1 o'clock, and it is 1:47. I try to keep these things under an hour. There's a subconscious limit when people click on a YouTube video that if I do it 1 hour and 2 minutes, they won't watch it. But if it's 51 minutes, they'll watch it. So I'm going to be ending here in about 3 or 4 minutes. If you have a question, if you miss me, still type your question in the comment section. I will get to it, or I'll do a video on it. If you missed me and you're on YouTube, just type your question into the comment section, and I will get to it, or I will do a video on it. I'm here to help you, and so I appreciate you guys. It's been great being here. Let me know what you need, what things you would like me to talk about in the future. It's been great being here. Thank you all again for your support and all of that, and I'll talk to you soon.